Could Jamaica become the richest country in the world? When we say richest country, what are we even talking about?
Money morning, money evening, and money night. Money me want, money.
It's not just about the total amount of money a country has.
Right, because a huge country could have tons of money, but if it's spread thin, it doesn't mean much for the average person.
You got it. That's where GDP per capita comes in.
Okay, per capita, so that's like taking all the money a country makes and dividing it equally among everyone.
Well, it's a bit more complex than that, but that's the general idea. It gives us a snapshot of individual wealth generation.
So where does Jamaica stand right now in terms of GDP per capita?
Right now, it's around $5,700, which puts it somewhere between 110th and 120th out of about 195 countries.
Long way to go to reach the top.
For sure. The top spot's currently held by Luxembourg, with the GDP per capita over $130,000.
Wow, okay, so clearly there's a huge range. But even if Jamaica's GDP per capita skyrocketed, wouldn't that just be an average? What about income inequality?
That's a crucial point. GDP per capita can hide a lot. If a few super rich folks hold most of the wealth, that average might not represent what most Jamaicans experience.
It seems like we need to look at those alongside GDP per capita to really understand the full story of a nation's wealth. But let's bring it back to Jamaica. Where does its money come from right now?
I think anyone who's ever dreamed of a Jamaican vacation can guess the biggest one.
Tourism.
Bingo. It's a powerhouse for Jamaica's economy. Tourism brings in something like $5 billion annually, which makes up a whopping 30 to 40% of their GDP.
Wow, that's huge.
And for Jamaica, remittances contribute almost 20% of their GDP.
It's incredible. It really shows how strong that connection remains between Jamaica and its diaspora. Okay, so we've got tourism, remittances, those are massive. What else is going on in Jamaica's economy?
Well, agriculture is still a significant player, particularly in rural areas. It might surprise some people, but agriculture still accounts for roughly 5 to 7% of Jamaica's GDP.
That's still $1 billion annually from agriculture alone. But I know Jamaica also has some valuable natural resources.
You're thinking about bauxite mining?
Right.
And Jamaica is one of the world's leading producers of bauxite. Mining contributes about 5% of Jamaica's GDP.
Are there any other industries that are on the rise in Jamaica?
Two sectors are definitely gaining traction: financial services and business process outsourcing, or BPO. And Jamaica is attractive for BPO because they have a skilled workforce and English is widely spoken.
Makes sense. We're here to explore how Jamaica could become the richest country. And to do that, we need to understand the challenges it faces. What are some of the hurdles standing in the way?
Well, there are some pretty significant challenges we can't ignore. Let's start with public debt. Jamaica's debt to GDP ratio is quite high.
So that means almost all the money Jamaica makes in a year is owed to someone else.
That's a simplification, but it illustrates the problem. Imagine trying to run a marathon while carrying a really heavy backpack. It's going to slow you down. That's kind of what a heavy debt burden does to a country.
That debt must take up a big chunk of the government's budget, money that could be used for education or building new roads.
Exactly. Then there's another challenge: Jamaica's dependence on imports.
Oh, right. They import more than they export.
Much more, and that makes their economy very vulnerable to any global shifts. It's a tricky situation. Okay, so we've got debt, we've got reliance on imports. What else is holding Jamaica back?
I have a feeling crime is going to come up.
You'd be right. Jamaica, unfortunately, has a high homicide rate, and that impacts investment, both from within Jamaica and from overseas.
That's a vicious cycle. Crime drains resources and creates instability, which makes it hard to attract the kind of investment needed to grow the economy.
Exactly. Then there's the issue of limited economic diversification. Reliance on tourism is great when times are good, but as we saw with the pandemic, it leaves Jamaica very exposed to global shifts.
It's like having all your eggs in one basket. If something happens to tourism, the whole economy feels it.
Exactly. And finally, we can't forget about infrastructure. Inadequate infrastructure can be a serious drag on an economy.
Yeah, things like roads, ports, and even internet access. Those are crucial for businesses to operate smoothly.
Absolutely. Jamaica needs to upgrade its infrastructure to truly compete on a global level. Now it's time to get to the exciting part.
Solutions. What are those ideas that could really transform Jamaica's economic future?
Well, I think the foundation has to be economic diversification.
Okay, diversification. So we're talking about moving beyond those traditional sectors, right?
Exactly. To really compete globally, It needs to branch out into higher value industries. Imagine Jamaica as the Silicon Valley of the Caribbean,
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
a hub for software development, artificial intelligence, blockchain, even fintech, attracting global tech giants and startups with incentives, world-class infrastructure, and a highly skilled workforce.
It's bold, but it's not completely out there, right? Jamaica's got that entrepreneurial spirit, that creative energy.
Exactly. And speaking of energy, why not tap into the green revolution?
Oh, interesting. Okay, so how would that work?
Jamaica could become a powerhouse in renewable energy. Think solar, wind, hydroelectric.
So instead of importing oil, Jamaica could actually export clean energy.
Exactly. A win-win for the economy and the environment.
I like it. But even with all this clean energy powering our tech hub, wouldn't we need to seriously revamp the education system? I mean, to create that highly skilled workforce you were talking about.
Absolutely. Education and skills development are key. We're talking a massive investment in human capital, shifting the focus to STEM fields, entrepreneurship, those critical thinking skills.
So instead of talented Jamaicans leaving for opportunities overseas,
They'd have world-class options right at home. Imagine partnering with top universities, establishing research centers and innovation labs right there in Jamaica.
okay, stopping the brain drain, investing in people. I'm with you. But let's be realistic for a second. How do we deal with that massive public debt? That feels like a huge roadblock.
Yeah, we can't ignore it. Debt reduction and fiscal discipline have to be top priorities. It's about negotiating better terms with lenders, reducing those interest payments, and freeing up those resources to invest in Jamaica's future.
It's like taking off that heavy backpack so the country can finally sprint forward.
Exactly. Implement strict fiscal policies, ensure budget surpluses get reinvested into those productive sectors.
Spend smarter, not just cut spending.
Precisely. Now, let's circle back to those infrastructure challenges we discussed. We need a complete overhaul.
You're talking about transforming those bumpy roads.
Police and examiners out there taking off plates because them say your vehicle not fit for the road. But if you see the condition of the road not fit for your vehicle.
That unreliable internet, those have got to go if Jamaica wants to compete on a global level.
I'm talking modern highways, high-speed rail connecting those major cities, ports that can handle increased trade, internet speeds that rival Silicon Valley. Think big. Partner with private investors, international organizations to make it happen.
So we're envisioning a Jamaica that's not just beautiful, but efficient, connected, open for business.
Absolutely.
But let's be honest, all this progress is threatened if crime continues to cast a shadow over the nation.
You're right, this needs to be addressed head-on.
Attack those root causes.
Strengthen law enforcement, better training equipment, and of course tackling corruption.
Okay, so we've got diversifying the economy, investing in education, reducing debt, upgrading infrastructure, tackling crime. Are we missing anything?
Given its location, Jamaica has a unique opportunity to become a global leader in sustainability and climate resilience.
They've already got that natural beauty, that connection to the environment.
Exactly, so build on that. Invest in disaster-resistant infrastructure, early warning systems, sustainable agriculture, eco-friendly tourism. Jamaica could become a model for how small nations can not just survive, but thrive while protecting our planet.
And then export those climate adaptation technologies to other vulnerable nations.
Exactly. And here's the thing, all these strategies, they're interconnected. They all work together, they build on each other.
Brick pam brick. Brick pam brick pam brick.
Diversifying the economy creates jobs, attracts investment, which helps reduce that debt. A more educated workforce fuels innovation. Reducing crime makes Jamaica more attractive to investors and tourists.
This is starting to feel possible. This is getting me excited.
Yeah.
It sounds like Jamaica truly has all the ingredients for success.
It does. But let's be realistic, this is a long-term vision. It'll take time, effort, maybe even a few bumps in the road.
How long would this transformation really take? Are we talking decades, generations?
Let's think about a couple of scenarios. A realistic timeline, assuming steady progress over time, probably puts Jamaica transitioning to a high-income nation in 50 to 75 years.
Wow, so we might not see it in our lifetime, but our kids or grandkids could.
But there's also a really optimistic timeline where if Jamaica executes everything perfectly, catches some favorable global trends, we could be talking 30 to 40 years.
Okay, that's a much shorter time frame. It's pretty incredible to think that it's even within the realm of possibility, but the potential is definitely there.
Without a doubt.
All right, so we've explored the challenges, we've brainstormed those potential solutions, but now for the really fun part.
My favorite part.
Let's really picture Jamaica, achieving this incredible economic transformation. What would life actually be like? Paint me a picture of a day in the life of an average Jamaican in this brighter future.
Okay, so they wake up in their solar-powered home,
Love it.
commute to work on efficient public transportation.
Maybe even a high-speed rail.
Exactly. And they work in these cutting-edge industries, tech, green energy, creative fields. They earn a salary that allows them to live comfortably, save for the future, pursue their passions.
Their kids attend schools that rival the best in the world. It's a Jamaica where talent and hard work are rewarded.
Absolutely, but it's not just about material wealth. Imagine people having more leisure time.
Less stress, more time with family and friends.
Stronger community connections. They can enjoy those beautiful beaches, the mountains, knowing that their environment's protected.
And that their nation is a leader in sustainability.
It's going to take a collective effort. It's about individual Jamaicans investing in their education,
Embracing that entrepreneurial spirit.
supporting their communities. And it's about the nation as a whole embracing those bold strategies we discussed.
Working together to overcome the challenges.
It's a big task.
Monumental, but worth it. If Jamaica can achieve this, it won't just be rewriting its own story. It'll be rewriting the global narrative of what's possible.
But ultimately, it comes down to the human story. It's about believing in that power of possibility.
And remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us.
It's something we create.
Together. Until next time.